Welcome to Light It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Light It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah. Very excited about this week's episode, as I am each and every week, but you all know that I'm always looking for a guest who is going to share a wealth of information with the listening and the viewing audience. Today's topic is very near and dear to me because, as you all know, I am going through this college application process with my twins, Aaliyah and Kamal. So I decided to go and get an expert who will share information with parents and students on not only how to get into college, but how to stay in college, because that's very, very important. It's easy to get in, but you've got to stay there too. So this week's guest is Carol Ben-Davies, who is the CEO of College Bound Determination, LLC. Welcome to Light It Up, Carol.
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I'm so glad that we are able to sit down and talk. We got to know each other a little bit earlier this year. We met through social media. I guess we could go ahead and say that on Facebook through one of those great groups that is helping parents like me navigate this whole college application process. But as I mentioned, applying to college and getting into college, that's just one phase. But staying in college and graduating, of course, is the next phase. And so if you could, because you have background in higher education, if you could just share with the audience a little bit about your background and your experience in higher ed and what you are currently doing with College Bound Determination.
Well, thank you again. And yes, I love that you said that, because I very much care about access and the wealth of information that's out there helping students get into college. But what I do is help guide parents to strengthen their child for the realities of college. Okay.
Yes.
We offer triage for struggling college students, because that happens.
Mm-hmm.
We also offer early grade strengths assessments and awareness to give their child a strategic advantage for college and life.
Okay.
And so I worked at several institutions, 4 to be exact, starting with my alma mater, UNC Chapel Hill. And I've had various roles, including undergraduate admissions at my alma mater. So very selective admissions process. So I empathize with parents, trying to get into college anywhere because of the competition. And what I did throughout my career was help students who were creating college breakthroughs, getting into the most selective institutions, getting involved on campus, leadership, fraternity sorority life, student organizations, all that great stuff. And then I had an opportunity when I was moved over to an area in the Office of the Dean of Students at Purdue University, where on a daily basis, I was actually helping students who were struggling. Academically, socially, emotionally. And there were a lot more breakdowns than breakthroughs. And the reality is the breakdowns are increasing. As you mentioned, we help students get into college, but what happens when they get there?
Right.
And the statistics say it all. 40% drop out or quit, and 30% drop out before sophomore year. And I know intimately that these are students who are excited like your kids are, right? They're visiting all these different schools. They are all caught up in the admissions frenzy of where you're going to go, where you're applying, have you met your deadlines, have you sent in those essays, have you gotten your test scores, all of that stress on top of dealing with the everyday life of high school. And when we say we are preparing our students for college, that's really all we're doing is preparing them for the admissions process.
Right.
We're not preparing them for when they get to campus and they deal with homesickness. Right now, we're in October and it's the middle of October and there's fall break. And you know, since you work on a college campus, fall break is in the calendar for a reason.
Yep.
This is when there is literally a break. And we're seeing it highlighted in the news with recent deaths by suicide of college students.
Yes.
And I believe that every student should go onto their campus and thrive. But the reality is we have a lot of college students who are suffering. And I'm a person of faith, and I don't believe that God wants our kids to suffer. And so that's why I started College Bound Determination, to focus on reality preparation so that students have a life advantage. Because isn't that what you want for your kids?
Yes.
You don't just want them to get in, you want them to be set up for life.
Exactly.
And so we cannot, in my opinion, focus solely on how to get in without preparing and bolstering our kids, our students, our children with the tools that they need to navigate the entire college journey.
Right.
Because getting in is that first part. Woohoo!
That's the easy part.
Honestly, everybody can do that. You know, we make it seem like, oh my God, it's so hard to get in. Stop applying to all the schools that are so hard to get in. There are 4,000 institutions in this country.
Right.
Let me tone it down. I get a little animated.
It's okay.
There is a university out there for every student. And unfortunately, what happens is many students are attracted to the ones that they hear most often. And they don't take into consideration those institutions that they may not have heard about that are equally outstanding, that don't have a selection process that is difficult for them to enter into college.
Right.
And so when we're stressing about, oh, are they going to get in? Are they going to get in? Without focusing, because this is the time to do it. You know, how are you managing your time right now? Because when you get to college and mom is not there to be as organized and to be your administrative assistant.
Hello.
Like I know some parents are. If you don't have that, if you're not having the assistance of someone reading your essay 5, 6, 7, 11 times, and making sure that everything is grammatically correct because you done procrastinated and waited to do the paper the night before, so you didn't have a chance to even get it to be reviewed, to get edited, and then you get your grade and it's not what you want. And you have been used to making solid grades since you were in kindergarten. And my girl's a 6 and 4. And so I know we have our parent teacher conference for my first grader tomorrow.
Okay.
You know, going over these grades, and it's so adorable, you know. And I said, oh man, this could be very applicable to our college students. You know, they have her do a, you know, what's the strength, what are the challenges, and what are some ideas for parents. Her big list of things for her first grade goals that are so cute. I mean, these are things that we need to be preparing our college students for. You know, some of the things, just I work hard and try my best, you know, just things like that, because that translates to college. Right.
So let me ask you this, because you're right. We prepare our students for getting into college. I will just speak for myself and probably countless other parents. I remember when Aaliyah and Kamal were entering their freshman year of high school. And I said, those freshman year grades matter. You got to start strong, because And 4 years or 3.5 years, when you're applying to college, they're going to be looking at those freshman grades, sophomore grades, and junior grades. They won't even look at your senior grades because you won't have any grades when you're applying to school. So freshman year, I'm embedding in these 14-year-olds' heads, that these grades are important. You got to get these grades and have this high GPA so that you can get into college.
Yeah.
But when should we talk to our children about how to navigate the process once they get there? Because one of the things that I found just from my own experience when I was an undergraduate student, you had to know how to advocate for yourself and how to network. But how many 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds know how to do that? And I was 16 when I was a freshman in college.
Oh, wow.
So there's also that fear factor. You've got 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are on a college campus who think that they have to do exactly what this adult is telling them to do or what an advisor is telling them to do. How do you prepare your children to advocate for themselves once they get on the college campus and ask the right questions in the network?
And it starts now. Mm-hmm. Why would, and this is why I talk about what I talk about, mm-hmm. because we are spending a lot of time, and I'm not saying that the admissions process does not matter. It is a means to an end.
Exactly.
But it's not the end.
Mm-hmm.
We should not be spending from, some parents start in July, mm-hmm. July of the senior year, planning and preparing for the admissions process. I'm not saying any names. I don't know why you're laughing over there.
I'm laughing because I started in May and their college counselor thought I was plumb crazy.
Oh my gosh. So I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about you. Okay. That's why we're snickering, because we already had a conversation about this. And I follow you on Facebook and I see your posts and they crack me up. But you're in a better position because you know higher ed and all of that. So you're not just doing this. Right. But for other parents, what typically happens is that is the primary focus of college. Mm-hmm. It's very contentious oftentimes because the students are procrastinating on what they need to do. They're not checking their emails. They're missing very essential emails. Mm-hmm. And there's just frustration, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. But there are other things that are important, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. And so what you should be doing is preparing them to be advocating for themselves, preparing them to make those phone calls to the institution. What I used to love was when I would hear parents in the background mm-hmm. on a phone call, but the student was the one I was talking to, but I could hear the parent like, and ask them this, and ask them this. And I would answer the question as if I did not hear the parent coaching them from the sidelines. Mm-hmm. And when they were done, and I would say, now, does your mom have any other questions? And I would say, good job, mm-hmm. because mm-hmm. you want them to get that confidence now.
Right.
Again, I go back to my kids because, I just think about it. And my life kind of changed when mm-hmm. I had my girls, because for much of my career, I did not have children. Mm-hmm. So I was working in higher ed since the day after I graduated from college. So I was young. Mm-hmm. I connected with the students. Right. I didn't understand these parents. Why are they in my office? Why are they calling? I don't get this.
Right.
And my moving from the student affairs, sort of fun activities, mm-hmm. Leadership development, student development activities, to supporting students in their, challenges, mm-hmm. happened at the time when I got married and had children.
Okay.
So it was like I got moved over to this is indeed a student's position for student support and advocacy. Mm-hmm. I married 2014, that same year.
Okay.
The next year I had my first child, and the next year after that I had my second child.
Okay.
And when I was on those phone calls after my firstborn, it hit me like a ton of bricks. All those times that I was talking about these helicopter parents and why they calling me. Because even just today, my 4-year-old dropping her off at school, don't leave me, mommy, don't leave me. I mean, just crying. And what am I doing? Crying too. And what typically happens is the teacher will send me a text, a message on Class Dojo and say, this is what she's doing now. She's not crying. She's having fun. Parents don't have that same benefit because of laws.
Right.
So their child will call them, complain about whatever the case may be. Parents' innate desire is to help their child. The parent jumps on the phone or jumps in the car, on the plane, and is in somebody's office talking about, what can you do to help my child? I understand why all of that happened from a different perspective when I had children. But at the same time, I feel that in our desire to protect our kids, we don't empower them for when we are not around them. And so students often aren't able to advocate because when have they had a chance to do it? Mom and dad is taking care of that.
Right.
Teacher does something. Who's the one advocating? The parent. Who's the one making the scheduled doctor's appointments? The parent. The parent is doing so much. And that is our job. But there needs to be like a point where we switch seats. Like when they were driving, learning to drive. And I can't even imagine, what that must have been like. You just have your baby. Because I see my kids, and I'm just like, when did you get this tall? My girls are so tall. Like, when did you grow? Like, you were just my baby. So it's like that commercial where it's like the little dad sees the girl as a little kid in the driver's seat.
Yes.
You need to have that period where you are there, you are teaching them, you are coaching them. You were helping them to gain their confidence, right?
Right. Yes.
We don't do that necessarily, and I don't want to generalize, but in most cases, we are not allowing that to happen for our students. In this day and age, it's very important that they do that. There's a lot of research about this particular generation, Generation Z. I am hoping that the pandemic has addressed some of the lack of resiliency that they typically have associated with this generation, but we have done a lot for them that we did ourselves. I was just thinking, I did financial aid by myself. I applied to my 3 schools by myself. Like, I was like, where was my mom and daddy in this process? I mean, I was a first generation college student, but I did a lot of that myself, and times have changed. Parents are much more involved in their students' lives. And parents and students, I believe, and their kids have a much different relationship with their parents than I would say. And I'm in Generation Z. X, sorry. I love Gen Z. But I'm in Gen X, and we just had a different relationship. I can go on and on about that, but it's really now setting that tone, providing those opportunities for them to practice being on their own, just like they practiced when they were learning how to ride a bike and you were right there behind them, just like you were right beside them learning how to drive a car. This is a very life-changing, very important life transition. And we basically tell our students, you got into college, good luck. I pray all is well. I hope things go well. No, we need to do more than hope and pray.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Just today, I was talking to someone, and they said, in fact, they live in Indiana, and they were talking about their daughter who's applying to school, but they made the comment that I'm not going to be there to hold their hand. And I said, well, what exactly does that mean? Because they're also, and you see it, you see sometimes where people may say, well, they're 18, they've got to figure out how they're going to get to school, get through school on their own, how they're going to pay for it. And I'm like, wait a minute. You don't stop parenting when your child turns 18. I'm 44.
It's when they need you most.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that I try, my signature line in this household is, I'm not going to always be here with you to help guide you. So you need to pay attention. You need to do X, Y, Z. You need to practice now. So my children know, like that's tagline. And they'll say, I know you're not going to always be here, mocking me. But it's true. Like I want them to understand that you have to learn how to speak up. You have to ask questions. No question is a dumb question. If there's something you don't understand, something you need clarity, ask the question, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where, you could have received some type of support or assistance, from somebody. You could have gotten the right answer, save time and money. You know what I mean? So there are, like you said, there are ways that we can begin to empower our children now, like making their own doctor's appointments, because they'll have to do that when they're away at school or, what have you.
Now, how do you feel? I was having a conversation and someone was talking about, even because, I talk about the realities of college.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the realities of college. Mm-hmm. The reality of college is that many students will decide to drink.
Yes.
And to drink underage.
Right.
It's a reality. Mm-hmm. Not saying that everybody has to do it. I didn't one time. I have no tolerance. So, but that's the idea, right? Mm-hmm. How do students know what their alcohol level, their tolerance level is? Or do we want to wait until they get to college in the first couple of weeks of classes?
Right.
When there's what we call the red zone, mm-hmm. where unfortunately high instance of sexual assault happens in the first couple of weeks of school.
Right.
Because of that experimentation of alcohol and other substances. Do we mm-hmm. want to wait because, I'm freedom, mm-hmm. Do we want that?
I don't think so. I wouldn't.
And I'm not saying that you should get lit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
With your child.
Right. Yeah.
But there has to be a way that you talk openly mm-hmm. and honestly mm-hmm. about drinking, knowing your limit, mm-hmm. knowing how to stay safe mm-hmm. for yourself and those around you. Right. Knowing who to trust, when to trust them.
Absolutely.
These are conversations that you don't think to have because they got into college. They good. I taught them great values. They grew up in the church. I don't want to. Again, my goal is to help parents understand mm-hmm. that in preparing for college, it is much more.
Right.
Than just getting it.
Right. Along those same lines, my conversation, probably since I want to say that I started at 12 years old with my children saying, don't ever leave your cup unattended.
Don't.
So that's kind of like my prelude into the drinking, Yeah. Don't leave your cup unattended. Don't allow somebody else to go get you something to drink. And this is when they were in junior high school, even
they're drinking in high school. They're drinking in high school. Exactly. But they know the people that they are drinking with most often in high school. But you don't know some of these people yet.
Right.
When you get to college.
But even still, I tell mine, even if you do know them, that does not mean that you may not come across someone that you know.
Yeah.
Who may, in fun or whatever.
Yeah.
Do something. So that's how I started to engage in those conversations. And then I kind of, lead to go on to talk about, here are the things that I already know that you are going to do or experiment with when you're in school.
And I think that is the benefit of one, knowing you've had an opportunity to have attended college. You also work at a university. I will say that often I would get calls from parents who felt that they were at a disadvantage because they didn't go to college. And I will say that college is very different from when you went to school, if you went to school.
Yeah.
And so you're not at a disadvantage. But you know life.
Right.
You have life experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and those life skills can be shared with your child to help them to navigate the waters of being away. But yeah, I think, I know my girls are going to get tired of me because everything is a lesson. Everything is a teachable moment. Like, we watch all the Disney shows, and I'm always thinking about how this relates to college. And what are some lessons that I can draw on and ask them, did you notice that? Just character development. I want my girls to have integrity. I don't want them to be stealing, cheating, being a bully. Let's have some conversations. Was what they did good? No, mommy, no. And my little one, she gets mad. She'll be like upset when she sees somebody doing something wrong, right, on TV.
Yeah.
So she already knows that is not good behavior because we are talking about that. And I teach them mindfulness, because I don't believe, let me tell, I have some of your stories. But so the things they teach you in therapy really should be taught at this age, so that it becomes part of your life, right? So my my oldest, when she was in kindergarten, was doing an assignment, and I have the video, so I have to show it to you. She was doing an assignment, and she was getting really frustrated, but then she stopped, and she just breathed in and out. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did you just do? And I recorded it. And she was like, well, I was getting a little frustrated because I couldn't write the G. But then I just remembered that you just can slow down and just breathe in and out. And then they watch a little bit too much YouTube. So she was just like, and you too can learn to breathe when you're feeling frustrated.
But that's good. She's already.
That is a life lesson, right? And they share that with a little, it was so cute. My daughter, the 4-year-old, had a play date last week, and her friend was scared to go into the little jungle gym and was crying. And my daughter was just like, you know what you can do? Let's just breathe. And she was comforting her, and she was protecting her from little bully. But those are things that you can start that at an early age. You can enforce it and reinforce it in high school, because when they get to college, it's not the time for them to be learning those types of things. Those are life skills that are essential to their success. And that's what I noticed when I was working with students who were struggling, that it wasn't so much the academics that tripped students up. It was habits. It was mindset. It was, so many things that had someone kind of talk to them and coach them around what they would experience and how to navigate that, they would have been better prepared. And that's why I made it a point when I coach students and when I talk to my girls, that those foundational aspects are more essential to me than if she's getting all A's on her little report card.
Right. So let me ask you, what approach do you take when you're working with clients? So do you meet with parents and the students to determine what areas you all need to work on to help develop the student? And then do you set up your sessions from that vantage point in terms of what your target goal is, what the timeline is? How does that work? So, I've got two folks who are leaving. From August.
Well, I work with three groups of students,
Okay.
12th and 11th graders.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked together for about 6 months, and we are preparing for not only the college admissions process,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll tell you frankly, we put a lot of stress about that.
Yeah.
I like to de-stress that process, apply, you get in or you don't, write your essay, be truthful, authentic. We didn't spend that much time, with a red pen looking at grammatical errors. It's more so for the essence of what was shared, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But with that population, I'm wanting them to prepare for the college journey.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that they can be doing now, 11th and 12th grade, to be the first year student on the campus, absolutely thriving,
Mm-hmm.
and not going through the common college pitfalls that I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
9th and 10th grade, I work with those population of students, just in terms of what you mentioned earlier with being strategic. It was very sad to me when I would speak to parents who had applied to the institution, who thought they had done everything right. I remember this one woman, I'll never forget her. She was like, I don't understand why my daughter got denied. She took college prep classes.
Mm-hmm.
She was preparing for college, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, because the school had different, more rigorous offerings, she wasn't a strong candidate for where she had applied.
Mm-hmm.
And the disappointment, I can sense now what I know to be mom guilt.
Yeah.
I heard that. And there are ways to be strategic and to reverse engineer, right? Like, what's offered at your school?
Yeah.
Let's try to plan for that. What are some activities? Let's plan for that, and just kind of going through some foundational habits, mindset, factors. And I also work with middle schoolers and under.
Okay.
Because my girls are 6 and 4. Mm-hmm. My nephew is how old is he? He's like 9. Mm-hmm. Can't remember how old he is. But my sister and I, we talk about, what are we doing with them? What's their mindset? What's their habits? Like, they're doing this. And this is the time, like that middle school is an essential time, because they're still listening to you.
Yes.
They're still listening to you. They think that you're so wise, mommy, you're so wise. You have a very strong hold of influence over who they can become. Mm-hmm. And so I want to talk to parents. So with the middle schoolers and younger, it's more so a conversation with parents, because I feel I've been blessed with having sort of a crystal ball. And I shared that with you, right? Yeah. I can see what are the things that worked, and what are the things that didn't. What are the mindset and the habits that successful students had, that those who struggled didn't. And those can be cultivated early, right? And we need to focus on those factors as much as we do. What are they taking in the class?
Right.
What grade did they get? Are they vice president? Are they the captain? Because what I noticed was I would have conversations with parents whose kids did everything right, and they struggled and they fell out of school.
Yeah.
And when you hear multiple parents across all demographics, Black, white, rich, poor, first gen, multi-gen, saying the same thing, I thought we did everything right.
Yeah.
You buy your house. When we were buying our house, I'm like, I'm not going to live here until they go to high school. They're like, this is a good school system for them to go to college. I'm just like, we ain't thinking that far. But when you buy a house, they have you think about the school system and the quality of the school system, right? You're thinking about those things as early as when they're young.
Yeah.
And it's more so on the academic piece, but not on the social, emotional, mental, physical well-being of your child that can help them to be successful, not only for college, but for life.
I'm going to share with you something, a little bit of mom guilt, and also I'm going to say lessons learned, right? Yeah. So as a parent of multiples, I think I think that, well, I'll say this. I think all parents, we experiment with our first child, right?
I'm the oldest, and I know that. I'm the oldest, and I know that. I tell my
Right.
mom, and she's,
Yeah.
yes, continue,
So,
but yes.
so in this case, I've got two that I'm experimenting with, or that I experimented with at the same time, right? And I remember, like, with helping them select their classes, you've got to be on this track. You got to, do this. And they took AP courses, right? And they're taking AP courses now, senior year. And they took the AP exams. But if I could do it all over again, I would not have them take those AP exams. So this year, my son has 3 AP classes. My daughter has 2. I told them, you need to go cancel those exams. You're not taking them. Not only, I'm not going to say it's for financial reasons, but that is $500 that I could not, that I could keep.
Ooh, that's, ooh.
Yeah. My son's, his tests come up to $300. Okay.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
But my rationale is, when I saw how stressed out my children were over the AP exams that they had in May.
Yeah.
All of this for one day, for one test to earn college credit. To me, it makes more sense to do dual enrollment. Why am I putting all of this pressure? Now, I will say, I'm still okay with the fact that they took the AP courses, because that's a GPA booster. But
yes. And
I'm
rigor.
Not, right. Yes. And rigor. But I told them, and they were so surprised, because we had this conversation yesterday, because I said, I think the deadline is coming where you need to cancel those exams.
Yeah.
So you need to go and talk to the appropriate people and make sure you cancel it. I said, because you don't want to take the test, do you? They're like, no, this is senior year.
Yeah.
So I'm also thinking about their mental well-being, right?
I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Because they can say to me, I'm stressed out, I'm tired, I need a break. I get it.
Yeah.
I think we put too much pressure, and I'm not really sure where that came from, because I heard you say that you remember completing your own college application, your own FAFSA. Same here with me too. I think my parents may have been at the kitchen table, but I was still, filling it out. But now it's like, you're right. We want to, it's like our generation. We want to give our children the world, give them everything.
Yeah.
And we're not really preparing them to be able to handle disappointment, failure, or just, things just not happening the way they think that they should, right? And
That's all of what I saw. That's all of what I saw. How do you, like the growth mindset, fixed mindset, that's real.
It is.
That is real. And it impacts students so much. And I saw it on a daily basis. And when you mentioned about the AP exams, because I have that admissions background, when students were coming in and were afraid that they would be on academic probation, or afraid that they were going to be academically dismissed, or in fact, it was confirmed that they were getting academically dismissed, I would always look, well, for what information I could see. What were their SAT scores? What were their ACT scores? How many credits did they come in with? Wow, they had that many credits. Wow, they had all those 5s and 4s. And we're still you're still in my office crying.
Yeah.
So what you just mentioned about failure and being able to bounce back, asking for help, utilizing your resources, like those things are so simple, but they're not often practiced.
Yeah.
Because for many, and I particularly have worked at very selective, very high achieving caliber of students, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so these are students who they've always been excelling. And we could talk for days on all this, but they were always excelling. They were valedictorian, salutatorian, Mr. and Mrs. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
When you have not given that person an opportunity to experience defeat and failure and what that looks like, and how they have it within themselves to have some resilience around those challenges, to have some grit around that,
Mm-hmm.
that impacts their mental health.
Yeah.
And there is a mental health crisis occurring on our campuses. People don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
This past Sunday was Mental Health Awareness Day, I believe. And again, information in the news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have to acknowledge and talk about what impacts all this stress. And things were bad, in my opinion, before the pandemic.
They're worse now.
And and I feel as if it's just business as usual.
Yeah.
Never mind, there's a pandemic going on. You apply, there's no offense.
Yeah.
But it's just like, how has your life changed knowing that life is fragile? For so many kids, they didn't know that.
Yeah.
No one passed away in their families until they got to college. Mm-hmm. And grandparents had to pass away. Mm-hmm. And parents would pass away suddenly. So when you were saying that you're not always going to be here, it's not a morbid thing, it's reality.
Exactly. Yeah.
And my institution was really just amazing in the way that they supported students who dealt with deaths in their family, mm-hmm. and acknowledging the grief and the impact of that on their academics. And I saw students who had to take care of arrangements for family members who passed away. Are your kids prepared for that?
Right.
You know, if they can't even make a phone call to schedule a doctor's appointment, mm-hmm. how do they know what's going to happen? Like, especially what is going to happen? And you have to think about those things and plan for those things. And it's like you want to have insurance.
Yeah.
You get insurance not because you hope that your house is going to get on fire, that you're going to have a car accident, that you're going to be in a flood. That's not why you get it. You get it so that if in the event that this happens, mm-hmm. you know things are taken care of. Exactly. And I feel that many parents kind of go into this conversation that I have that's very difficult, and I'm accused of being really doom and gloom around mm-hmm. it. Mm-hmm. But it was constant conversation. Can you imagine every day, same conversations? Mm-hmm. It hits you to mm-hmm. where I get frustrated, honestly, talking about admissions. I'm like, that's not the point.
Right.
That's nothing. How are we preparing you again for college and life?
And it sounds like from what you're saying, not only do we need to work on helping our students develop a growth mindset, but parents too.
Yeah, that's that piece. That's that piece. So I have a very holistic coaching process where I do work with the parents, and we are collaboratively working together, where I partner mm-hmm. with the parents to understand the lens that I come from, and to know that it's coming from my heart. Mm-hmm. And as much as you are thinking and that you're doing something good for your child, because most often it's coming from pure, wonderful intent. Like, who wants to be a bad parent?
Right.
And these parents, you know, we have that helicopter, you know, oh my God, you've been a helicopter parent. So I would always get these calls like, I'm not being a helicopter parent, but, and I would be like, stop that. You're being a concerned parent. Good for you. Right. Because a disengaged parent is the absolute worst.
Hello.
Right. And so it is helping and coaching parents on how to coach their kids, mm-hmm. how to be a better parent to your kid, mm-hmm. And understanding that you think right now, you stepping in and coming in to save the day is helping them. what it's doing is letting them know that they can't solve their own problems, that they need to always turn to you, that they don't have it within themselves to solve a problem, that they need to go to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I mean, because you definitely want to utilize the resources, you know, and turn to people. But what I mean is, when students would be just kind of, everything is just whatever the parent wants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the child is on autopilot. I'm not majoring in this major because the parent doesn't want me to major in that. You know, I'm not going to this school because my parent wants me to go to this school. You have brought your child into this world so they could make a difference, make an impact, have a better life than you did. I mean, I think that's the wish: happy, healthy, whole, right? I get that now. We need to think about how our actions can be more better aligned to better ensure that happens.
Mm-hmm. So how do parents reach out to you and secure you for services? How do they retain you, Carol?
Call me, y'all. Just call me. I'm here. You can find me on all my social media handles, Carol Ben-Davies. I'm on Instagram. I post every day. I am biased. The content is very good. I don't just post about, and this is your essay. I love my colleagues who are in this space who have these wonderful TikTok videos, and they're so good. I'm not there yet. I'm like, look, yesterday was, you know, mental health awareness day. Like, what you doing for your mental health? How you take care of your self-care? You know, how are you? You know, I share very tangible reality aspects of college. You can also find me on my website, www.carolbendavies.com. And you can text me if you like. I'm at 919-849-8819. 919-849-8819.
Got it.
Yeah, so just text me. We can get on a coffee chat and just talk about how I might be able to support you with some opportunities and challenges that you might have to supporting your child. If I can be of service, that's really what I am here to do. I found my calling working on a college campus and realized that I have more to give than to students on one particular campus. And I have such extensive experience and knowledge and passion for our young adults. And if I can be of service to anyone, please contact me.
Well, I want to know, do you also, so I know you gave the groups of students that you work with, but what if by chance there's a parent who has a college student right now who needs some support? Maybe they're a freshman, right? Do you work with college students as well?
I do.
Okay.
And I will let you know, I do have a bias to helping students who are currently in college. When I share what I do, folks are just like, oh, that's so nice. Oh, that's good. They don't understand it. I'm trying to be proactive. I'm trying to prevent the forest fire, you know? I'm trying to prevent things from happening. And it's really difficult to see that your kid can be one of these students who is not thriving. You can't see it. They never failed. What are you talking about? My child is going to go to college and not know how to navigate it, have homesickness, deal with microaggressions, you know, deal with their sense of self, deal with lack of habits, success habits. What do you mean? And it's not until they experience it. And while I will say that our universities have wonderful resources, it's very frustrating for parents to figure out who to call. And so by the time parents ended up on my phone, they have been transferred a lot. And that's very frustrating. If you're working a full-time job, to find the time to make that phone call. There are parents who would get in their car and on a plane from other countries to see about their child.
Yeah.
Right. And if there's any parent who has a current student and they're not sure, I do strengths-based coaching. I help students with understanding how to learn about their interests so they can find a major that more aligns with who they are, as opposed to, oh, you're so nice, you should be a nurse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we have 80% of students will change their major at least once. And most often, the major that the student had was suggested by the parent.
Yeah.
And Gallup, the organization that does extensive surveys, has found that the people that are the biggest influencers in selecting majors, who are the parents, are not the most equipped resources. That there are other individuals, professionals, who can guide and help a student to pick a major that is much more aligned with who they are, their talents, their interests, and their strengths. And so when we tell students, and I guess we're just, I could go on and on, but when we tell students that they can go to college and find themselves, I believe that is a lie. That's a lie. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. You are already who you are in your heart of hearts. You as your parent, you know your kid. You know your kid. They've always been interested in X, Y, and Z, but you're going to tell them to be an engineer because engineers make money. There are so many people out there who are in majors that have no business in it. And even if they are successful in it, they may not be happy. More Gallup research that shows there are too many people who are disengaged in their jobs. And so we can cut through all of that. You know, the assessments, the conversations, the tasks that are often done when students get to campus, that can be had before they get to campus, in my opinion. And so that's what I want to be proactive. I want students to get on these campuses, realize the goals that they have, because there's so much at stake.
You're absolutely
my why, there's a lot at stake.
You're absolutely
we have lots of disparities, especially in our community, and we have too few African Americans in various positions of influence, and there are so much potential that was lost, that wasn't cultivated in the way that it could have been. And you have brilliant individuals who are working in Walmart right now. Not that there's anything wrong with a Walmart, Target, but they have much more to give, and it was misplaced, and they got burnt out. They ran out of money. And now there's potential in them that's not being realized. So, and it's a family thing. Generations are impacted by your success in college.
You know, and you're right. We can talk about this.
You got to cut this a couple of times.
But I want you to come back, because, and we probably need to do like a back-to-back segment, because we're in the college application process. You know, we're in that season, right? But I'm also thinking about, you know, you mentioned earlier where students will focus on the schools that they've heard of, the big name schools, right? And I was, and this is not to, you know, put anybody on the spot or anything like that, but we do have our idea, right, as parents, I think, of where we want our children to go to school, or what we will sacrifice to make sure our children go to their dream school. And the one school that comes to my mind, because actually there are three, technically two, because one, I'm twisting my child's arm about this particular school, but that's neither here nor there. They submitted the application, I'll just say that. But when some of the schools that are very popular, that are maybe the number one HBCU in the country, right? And we say, oh, I want my child to go there because they always dreamed of going to this school, but they're majoring in psychology. So are you going to go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt for an undergraduate degree in psychology when you definitely need an advanced degree in order for that psychology degree to be worth the piece of paper that it's printed on?
Yeah.
Do you want to put yourself and your child in that type of debt, starting at a deficit, right?
That's that life advantage. What kind of life advantage you want your child to have? Paying student loans until they're 89 years old,
Right.
when they could have gone somewhere cheaper.
Right.
And we have to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I mean, I feel almost like a hypocrite saying this because all the schools I've worked at and attended are those name schools,
right?
You know, but at the same time, there are institutions out there where you can get your degree for much cheaper.
Right.
And it's not where you go. It's what you do when you get there.
Exactly.
And so
I was just going to say, here's another thing. I remember my father is no longer with us, but so I told you that I graduated from high school at 16.
Yes.
I was admitted to Hampton University.
Okay.
And I could clearly see myself in Hampton, Virginia on Hampton's campus.
Yeah.
But my father put an end to that really quickly.
Uh-oh.
Because I tell the story, he and my brother were they were in Newport News, but decided that they were going to go on Hampton's campus on a weekend.
Okay.
Anyway, I remember he called me. I was a senior in high school. And he said, Aginah, you are not going to Hampton. You can go to Urbana or you could go to UIC. I'm not going to let my 16-year-old daughter go. You know, it was just, I was so disappointed, right?
Yeah.
But I say that to say that one of the things that he said to me is, nobody is going to ask you what grades you got. Nobody's going to look at your transcripts. They just want to know, do you have a degree? And I think about that often because I've already told my children, I already know you're going to change your major. You think you want to major. They don't have to. They don't have to.
Work with me. We can set you up.
Right. They don't have to. You're right. They don't have to. But I want them to know it's to be expected. There's nothing wrong with it if you
Nothing wrong with it. No.
Right. But be sure, because 17 years old, yeah, you think you may want to, do this, but you may find when you take a class, you may have an interest in something else. I know that certainly happened with me. We've talked about, I've shared with them how I had never failed until I got to college my first year. I failed finite math 165 at the University of Illinois at Chicago. The reason why I failed that class was it was an 8 o'clock class. The instructor was someone that I did not understand at all. And all of the students in that class had taken the course before. I didn't know any better. I didn't know to pick a different instructor, had no idea. And so when it was time when I realized, okay, I'm going to get a D in this class, I don't get it, I don't understand the TAs. And I went to my advisors. I waited too late in the semester. It was a 5 credit hour class. I was only
registered.
Yes, I was registered for 14 credit hours. I had a scholarship. And I had financial aid for my room and board, right? And they said, yeah, well, if you drop this class, you can drop the class, but if you drop the class or withdraw from the class, you're part-time.
Yeah.
We're going to need you to give us our money back. And I remember telling my father, I was like, I'm going to have to pay them this money back. And he said, don't go to the class. You told a 16-year-old not to go to an 8 o'clock class? Okay, I got you. I stayed in my bed But as a result, at the end of the semester, I had a 1.9 GPA.
Yeah, that's that's so much you said that I want to talk on.
But I bounced back because I said this was not going to be how my story is written. So let me get my life together.
Yes.
You know, but it could have gone so many different ways because, like I said, I had never failed before.
Yeah.
And to me, that was just like, you know,
Your
but
identity is just shaken.
yeah. And so imagine, like you said, students who have not faced any significant challenges, right? Or haven't been given the opportunity to make decisions or, you know, try to figure things out on their own. And then they're faced with that type of situation right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
They're away from mom and dad, you know, hundreds of miles away.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be pretty stressful.
It is. And I feel really grateful for, excuse me, the conversations that I had with students to understand the perspective that they had. And I want to share these with parents that they understand. So all of what you just mentioned, right? That you have got this grade, academic probation because it's a below a 2.0, right? If you had a scholarship, that's impacting that. So often as parents, we're stressing about that money. Yeah. What did I do? What am I sacrificing to pay for you to go to school? Parents would say that all the time. I paid a bill. I need to see the grade. Da, 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 da. Right? I'm just telling you, this is facts, right? Imagine how that feels on a student. Yeah. How does that feel on a student? A young person who that sense of burden that they have disappointed everybody. I went to college. They had this graduation party for me. The church knows my name. The city knows where I'm going to school. And here I am with a 1.9 GPA. And since you've been transparent, I too was on academic probation that first semester. And it is, the more people are honest about this, the more we will see that this is so common. Yes. And I remember just feeling so ashamed and scared. And I stalked, because this is before internet and all that stuff, I stalked the mailman to get your grade. I would be the one to grab that letter with my grades before my parents did. And if they see this will be the first time that they hear that their daughter was on academic probation for the first semester and had to write a letter to get reinstated, had to commit to studying and this and that. And I don't even remember, but I just remember, Lord God, please let them approve this, because if they don't approve it, I don't know how I'm going to tell my parents that I cannot go back. Right. Yeah. And as an African-American woman, first generation, and I'm a first generation American, I felt like I failed and that it was expected that I would fail. So when I went to Carolina, I didn't know Carolina was Carolina. I was born in Brooklyn, lived in New Jersey. Seton Hall was where I thought I was going to go to school. Right? Yeah. Moved to North Carolina and I see all this Tar Heel stuff, Tar Heel that. I had a friend, best friend went to Carolina. Another best friend, her sister went to Duke. They're the same age. And so, and my cousin went to NC State. And we hung at A&T. So those were the schools that I that were on my list, right? And when you get on a predominantly white campus, you hear these affirmative action. This was around the time when Ward Connolly and Proposition 209 was happening. You feel that, oh my God, they just let me in because I'm Black. Not because I worked hard. It's not because I was in top of my high school class. Right. And it wasn't until just recently, 2014, that I realized that college is just hard for everybody,
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yes.
And that the same challenges, the same mindset, despite my not going to the top high schools, that those students that did experience the same thing that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And until we're open and honest about it's a challenge just transitioning from high school to college for many people, instead of saying it's because you're low income, you're rural, you're first gen, and providing support for all students.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to have people who feel that sense of burden
Mm-hmm.
and make decisions that are destructive because of that.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're going to utilize your services so that you can kind of chip away at that and at least help.
And I wrote my notes while you were talking. So the major thing, I talked to a young lady just recently, and she was sharing, she was going to be having this great meeting with this top Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company.
Mm-hmm.
And they were interning. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, they sounded so impressive. I was like, oh my goodness, you were just dynamic. And the student senior has a job offer for this company. I said, did you change your major? Because again, we're so used to expecting students to change their major. She said, no, I picked up a major. She didn't say it like that, but that's how I saw it in my head as I was talking to her. I think we were talking. Yeah, we were, it was a Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
She picked up a major that allowed her to position herself to be able to, before graduation, she has a job.
Wow.
A good job. So yes, I believe we help our students think about and help them to explore what their interests might be, guide them. There are tons of majors out there, but instead of looking at a sea and an ocean of majors and career paths, there's a pond. Let's focus on this pond and choose from there.
Yeah.
There is a way to be strategic, and that's what I help students and parents to achieve, a strategic advantage in college and in life.
Well, your services are absolutely needed. So I want you to tell folks again, how can they reach you? I got your phone number, 919-849-8819. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, you can tell them your number.
And you can find me on my website, www.carol, that's CarolBen, D as in dog, AVIES.com.
Perfect. Well, will you come back again? Because we need to continue the conversation, because I think parents really need to hear more of what you have to say so that we can actually not only get out of our own way, but get out of our children's way as well.
Yes. Yeah. We only want the best for our kids. We only want the best for our kids. But sometimes what we think is the best may not be the best for them. Yeah. So let's work together so that they can reach their full potential, because they are absolutely capable of it. And we need them to.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Especially this generation. This generation is, they're so dynamic.
Absolutely.
They're so dynamic. Let's get it, y'all. Let's get it.
So you coming back?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for taking time to just have a conversation and being transparent too. So I like to always, have conversations. And I think that people gain so much more when we could be transparent, and share our own experiences as well. Because sometimes, when people see us, especially with you and I both having worked in higher education, there's maybe this assumption, but we've had some pretty interesting experiences too. And we can talk about this from our experience.
And I will say, I worked in higher ed from 1998. And it wasn't until 2014 that my eyes were open to a world that many people don't talk about.
Yeah.
these are issues that have been going on for years.
Yes.
We don't talk about it. No one's bragging about their kid being on academic probation.
Yeah.
And no one is bragging about themselves being on academic probation. But many more people need to hear those stories.
Yeah.
And we can keep going. But one of the things I want to encourage you families to do as you're visiting schools, as you're looking at institutions, don't just look at the successful students that they're going to put before you, because that's what we do. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. You're going to meet the students who are on dean's list and academic honors all semester. They're going to be 3 and 4 triple majors, have done everything. That is the reality. That is one part of it, but that's not the entire picture. Yep. I want you to talk to a student who was on academic probation and ask them what are the resources that the university has that help them to get off of academic probation. Mm-hmm. Talk to alumni and see if they can be honest with you about their experience. Because I had to, oh my God, we can keep talking, but I had to stop telling students that college was the best 4 years of your life. That is it sounds good. And when I first graduated, I felt that because, I mean, man, that's 94 to 98.
Yeah.
Man, where I went to school, man. But then the more I thought about it, I was in my room crying a lot. Mm-hmm. I had papers, I had exams that I wasn't sure. That uncertainty, it was hard. Yeah. And so I remember telling a student that college is the best 4 years of your life. And they said, Carol, I need you to stop saying that, because if that's true, then my life is going to suck. Mm. And so think about that too, when we think about the mental health and well-being of our students. If we're saying these 4 years where they're struggling, mm-hmm. and it's not fun, it's not what people told them, it's not what they saw on TV, it's not the weekend that they went to visit their cousin on campus, it's not all the parties, it's hard work, it's 8 a.m. classes, it's exams, it's papers, all that's going on, and I'm stressed, and I got depression or anxiety, and I've experienced some things. You're telling me that these 4 years are the best? Chalk it. We need to stop lying to our kids about that. It gets better. Thank you, Jesus, it got better.
And that's a word right there. You're absolutely right. No, you're right. We do tell that.
We glamorize it. I mean,
yeah.
It just look good. I got pictures with some of the, NBA players, NFL players now. Like, oh, I went to school with him. I went to school with her. Marion Jones, mm-hmm. Olympic players. Parties here, parties there. We had a good time, but at the same time, yeah. there were some situations that were scary.
Yeah,
that weren't that if I wasn't who I was, would I even be here? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And we take that for granted. And with this generation not having as much opportunities as previous generations had to explore, to make mistakes. Oh my gosh, you can't make a mistake these days. Cancel culture.
Yeah.
That's stressful. You can't make a mistake. Life is full of mistakes. You have to have them. You have to learn from them. But if I'm scared to make a mistake, and if I've made one, what now?
Right.
What now? Oh my God, I got arrested for underage drinking. I'm trying to be an X, Y, and Z. In my field, they have the background checks for the Dean of Students Office to see if you've been on all these thoughts.
Right.
We had to make sure, again, we could keep going, but we had to make sure we let students know, hey, I understand that you got arrested this weekend. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you about the process. Right. Life is not over. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Because the what ifs, especially if you have anxiety, mm-hmm. that catastrophic thinking can make you do some destructive things. It sure so, man, I can go on and on. Yeah. This is. I love this stuff. And if anybody is interested in continuing to have this conversation, schedule some time with me. We can have a coffee chat. We can get into this a lot deeper, how I can help you, how we can expand this conversation, because when I talk to people, it resonates with them, mm-hmm. but it does not often translate into, and that my child needs help with that.
Yeah.
They rather, look, I'm not free. I have big goals and big philanthropists. So I have charges. And, oh, that's expensive. You're going to pay
Right.
either on the front end
Or
or on the back end.
Yeah.
So you
just need to decide where you want that investment to go, right?
And oh my gosh, you just told me $500 on the AP exams. Are you kidding
me? Yes. Well, that was the total amount.
Exactly.
But yes.
But you have the application fees.
Yep.
You have the fees for visiting the campus.
Yep.
The hotel, the flight, that stuff adds up. And then you want to tell me that you can't afford me? You better figure it out. I'm sorry.
Look, don't get me.
You can't not afford me.
I got a running
like me.
I have a running tab, but I got a running tab for other reasons. That's a whole different story for a different
I would love to see your tab. I'm actually very curious because I always say that I posted in one of the first Facebook groups I'm in that because it's application fee waiver week.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I've been letting parents know, hey, save some money because it adds up.
Yeah.
And so that was making me think, oh my, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of
this
money.
Entire process.
It is.
And the, oh my gosh, keep going, but the dorms and, once I get in, I got to have the IKEA bag and I got to have Pinterest up. We had, they do it up these days. Adds up. Adds up.
I am laughing because I was in Walmart today, right? And I don't know. No.
Already?
No. I was in Walmart to just legitimately get toothpaste, whatever, just stuff for the house. But the thought crossed my mind to one of those groups. There was something that I saw, and I was like, I could get this for Aaliyah's dorm room. And then I quickly came to my senses because I'm like, we're still in the application season. Why am I even thinking about this? But
because that's what we think about.
That's what we think about.
I can tell you the trajectory of the experience.
Yeah.
Applications, stressed out about applying.
Yep.
Stressed about, are you going to get it or not? You're going to stress out about, can you afford it? Waiting for the financial aid to come. Stress about making the right decision. Then you make your decision. Let's decorate these dorms.
Yeah,
it happens. I've been watching it. And now I'm at the point, I'm like, we can't do this no more. Because let me tell you what typically happens. Do you know, would you believe, because I did not believe it until I saw it, that those same individuals who decorate their dorms all pretty, residential halls, all pretty, often before classes even start are withdrawing from the institution. I was part of the students withdrawing and making sure that they understand if you withdraw from classes, the implications on their financial aid, scholarships, if they were international. We had to have these conversations so they understood what was going to happen. So I would say, so we were kind of like that buffer. So I was so surprised. I'm like, because beforehand I was on the other side, like planning retreats for student leaders 3 days before classes started. Everything's all fun, orientation fairs, this, that, and the other. And at that same time, in another part of campus, our students who are just like, I told my daddy I didn't want to come here. I told them it was too big. And the class, first day of classes, and they're in the office like, I can't do this. I'm withdrawing.
Yeah,
I know my parents are gonna be mad, but I'm sorry, I can't do this. Or parents, now we can keep going, but parents who are just like, oh yes, I miss them so much too. You come on home, baby. You come on home. You homesick, baby girl. Come on, son. Are you kidding me? You worked up until they were 18 to get them out the house. What were y'all thinking? What were y'all thinking was going to happen? And some of them are just like, oh, I didn't realize how far campus was. I didn't realize how big the campus was. So, I mean, the analogy that I have about this whole process is how we enter into wedding season. And I was talking to one of my girlfriends. I was like, when you got engaged, because we were hanging tight, and then she went and got,
Mm-hmm.
booed up, and then she got married, engaged, and everyone was just like, oh my gosh, let me see the ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you guys have a date yet? Do you
Yeah.
know where you're gonna have it? I was like, they never once asked you about your husband and if he was a good person and do you love
Right.
him?
Right.
Does that not matter more?
Right.
We think about the dress and the location and the venue, and there's so much money involved in that. Then y'all get married.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you have amazing friends and an amazing support system that's giving you the real,
Mm-hmm.
you might find yourself with the expectation, similar to college. You have this expectation of it's going to be great, it's going to be fun, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
and then you get into this relationship and it's just like, who are you?
Yeah.
I don't like you no more.
So we have to
Right?
make sure that
But
doesn't happen with
anywho,
our children when they go to school. It needs to be the right fit.
exactly,
Yeah.
for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because the school is great doesn't mean it's great for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Lots of
Well,
students are transferring. Yeah,
we are
continue. This is
definitely
part 3, part 4. You got to chop this up.
we are definitely gonna come back and talk
Thank you.
again
Thank you.
and expand the conversation. So hopefully, I think you shared a lot of great gems for parents, and even if they have their children watching or listening to the podcast. So I need you to come back. So you've got your open invitation to come back. But thank you so much for taking the time to share so much with me today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the conversation as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. Share this episode with a friend, especially if you have friends who have children who are applying to college anytime soon. Whether it's this year or next year, they need to see this episode of Light It Up. But thank you so much for joining me this week. And thank you again, Carol Ben-Davies, for taking the time out of your day to talk to me. Please continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle at LITE It Up Podcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.